Hey everyone, Jason from Signal Culture here. We've got a lot of requests recently asking about our Midi Learn functions and how you can integrate them with VCV Rack. And I think it's an excellent option if your computer can handle the apps and VCV Rack together, mainly because it kind of gives you a way to control things, but without having to always kind of hold on to everything, right? MIDI controllers can be really great, however, you still have to be in control of every single knob and slider. And sometimes you just need things to happen at certain intervals. And working with VCV Rack can be really great for that. We're going to do a live stream later on with some more advanced tutorials around this. But for right now, I wanted to show you just some simple things if you don't know VCV Rack that well and you just want to get started. These are some tips and tricks that kind of get you down your path. So VCV Rack, if you're not aware, this is what it looks like, is a program that does modular style synthesis, but in a software interface. There's a lot of great companies that have put out modules here that do physical Eurorack modules like Instruō, which we're actually using one of their attenuators as a part of this demo. But also, the ones that come with VCV Rack are really pretty excellent. So as you can see, if you want to add modules, you just right-click on the panel and you pick what kind of tag you're looking for. For this demo, we're going to do low-frequency oscillators, attenuators, and CV to MIDI converters. Those will all be under the attenuator, low-frequency oscillator, and MIDI categories. Now I already have them set up here. Some of the things I'm using, you'll have to download them into your particular profile. You can find out about all that on VCV Rack. The VCV Rack has bass attenuators. I really like this one from Instruō, who's a really fantastic engineer out of Scotland. And this one I think works a little bit better than most of them out there. So, we have a low frequency oscillation, and we're going to use two different kinds here. One is we're just going to use a sine wave, and the other one we're going to use a square wave for two different functions in the frame buffer app. So I really like this one, which is CV to MIDI control data. So you have to click the middle here and say to frame buffer Mac. And once you do that, this is already going to be sending these channels to that particular app. So I'm going to click the sine wave here into cell 1 input, and it's going to be doing its thing. And in the app, I will then say MIDI Learn, and I will click key tolerance, and we can see key tolerance is now going up and down, up and down. I will then click escape, and now that MIDI Learn function is already there. And notice it's kind of going up and down really fast, and our effects are maybe a little bit glitchy. How about we slow this down a little bit, right? And we can bring that low frequency oscillation down, and now we can see it's going up and down that entire range. Now with wave shaping, your path going from 0 to 1, right, if you have a through 0 oscillator, -1 to 1, right? They will go through that path based on that waveform. However, different waveforms do different things, right? So if this is a sawtooth wave, it's going to go up and then snap right back down, right? And if you were to reverse that sawtooth, you would get the opposite of effect, right? So in this instance, we're going to have that going, but I also would like to show how to use the buttons. A lot of people have had questions about, well, in my MIDI controller, when I press the button and then I release it, it kind of goes on or off, right? And we can't keep a state on. Well, the way that you do that in VCV Rack is that you start to work with a square wave, right? The square wave is either on or off. It doesn't have a path. And so if you get an on or off pattern with that square wave, you can turn some of the more simple button functions on or off. For instance, with this square wave, I'm going to temporarily disconnect the sine wave. The reason is I don't want that sine wave to be memorized in the next thing. I'm going to take this square wave, I'll put it into that second channel, okay? And now it's going, I'm going to go back to my MIDI learn. So I'm going to choose key black or key white. And notice now the square wave is turned into button on and off, right? So as I go back here, I'm going to have this turn on and off maybe a little bit slower, right? So it's one thing, and then it's going to be another. And now I'm going to put the sine wave back, and we can see both of them are working now in tandem. And now I can be more concerned with performing things out, and we're going to get very different effects because the key white, key black is going to do things at different times than the frequency path of the key tolerance. And now it's going all the way up, all the way down, and it's pretty exciting. You know, I don't have to be at the keyboard doing certain things. I don't have to be at a MIDI controller doing certain things. I can always deal with that timing structure. If you get more complex waveforms or more complex triggers for envelopes and things like that, you can also use that as a part of this control voltage thing. But you probably noticed that we have one little problem. It's going all the way up and all the way down. And that's not great. So how do we maybe deal with a range versus all the way from one end to all the way on the other end? Well, let's connect this sine wave back into here. This is our Instruō attenuator, right? So we put the input in, but I'm also going to use the sine wave as a second B input to compare the sine wave to itself. And notice that when I do this, right, so I have my output 1 output here, and I have the attenuator at 0 here, but I only have it going to 1.4 right here. It's now going from 0 to only that 1 point. If I make this even more, it's only going to be that tiny range, right? If I put it all the way up, notice it goes all the way up, all the way down. Now, similarly, if I bring this down to the output 2, right, I actually have this slider which will kind of help with attenuating that range as well. If I have it going all the way up to here, and in this attenuator I bring it down to here, now we are going back and forth in a mid area, right? So again, I have the sine wave, which is the input. I have it going out of the output here, and I have that same kind of sine wave, right, reference in itself, and giving the boundaries of how it's going to work. What is the minimum? What is the maximum? The sine wave is going to go between those boundaries. If I bring it all the way down to 0, we'll notice it goes to the middle. And if I bring this down, it goes down to 0, right? If I bring this up a little bit, it'll go up a little bit more. But now, the more I bring it up, and then we can get that tiny little range back and forth, right? So now we can get slightly more and then slightly less. And this is how that effect works. So in any one of these situations, working with a good attenuator will be really helpful in figuring out. Now, every attenuator works a little bit differently. So the Instruō one can be a little peculiar, especially because the knobs are so small. The Bafalco is also a really great one, and they offer that as well in VCV Rack. But the great thing about the VCV Rack community is that there are so many modules out there, and a lot of them are free, including the ones from Instruō. So just adding them to your VCV Rack library can really enhance the stuff that you're doing with the Signal Culture apps. So to recap, we have the CV to Midi CC. CC is important. It's not node data. And you'll have, look, 16 tracks of that, right? And whatever app is open, you can have that instance to that particular app. In addition, you can take any kind of oscillation, but it doesn't just have to be an oscillation. It can be an envelope. An envelope, once you trigger it, develops a waveform, right? you can attenuate those waveforms so that you actually start to get a different slice of MIDI control in the apps. And remember, a square wave is just on and off. So a square wave is really great for turning things on and off, such as buttons, like 2 different button states. Or if you happen to be in something like InnoStream, bloom on, bloom off. So I hope this really helps, and we will definitely get much more into this in the future. We're also hoping to develop some things with the Signal Culture apps, but this is a really great way to start getting that going. So I can't wait to see what you make, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks, everyone.